Have you discovered Gaia.com yet? Stream the largest library of consciousness-expanding videos, ad-free and member-supported. See the links in the description below for more details and a special sign-up offer. Start your journey for only 99 cents.
Welcome to Beyond Belief. There is no one person who has lit up the world of disclosure than Corey Goode. Corey, of course, co-hosts Cosmic Disclosure with Gaia's David Wilcock and has talked about things that have happened to him since he was 6 years old. Corey, welcome back.
Thank you.
What have you been up to these days?
Working on a lot of different projects, actually. I formed a team in a small company that has recently been fully funded, which has kickstarted a lot of the projects that we've had on the shelf for a while.
These projects that you've investigated, we're going to talk about one called Antarctic Area 51 in just a moment. Do they come to you, or how do you find them? Where do you get the information for them? Do you have whistleblowers who come to you, or how do you pick it up?
Yes, I have people within military intelligence and people that used to be in military intelligence that share information and give briefings.
Do they do it confidentially, or do they get their names out there? I mean, like you have stuck your neck out in the noose.
I think they would rather just I stick my neck in the noose, so they are very much in the background.
And they risk a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
If they come forward.
Absolutely.
What have you found over the last couple of years to be perhaps the most compelling area that you've been investigating?
I think the amount of as I've gotten to know more DOD types, DIA types, NSA types, the amount of interaction that they're having with non-terrestrials, they are having, a large number of them are reporting interaction with the tall graves in their homes, in their offices, at work. So there's something that's going on there that's been very interesting. I've been hearing a number of stories from different people, and they're very similar.
Is it ongoing?
It is.
Give us one example. What's happening?
Well, one person that actually worked high up in one of these military three-letter agencies recently during a briefing told me about how they woke up in the middle of the night, went to go to the bathroom while they're staying at a friend's house in a completely darked out basement. And when they came back, they used their telephone or something as a light to be able to look around in the room. And they saw a tall gray standing above their wife.
That's freaky.
Right. That was just right across the room from them. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't an abduction. They came stumbling in on the situation.
Had they not woken up, anything could have happened.
Right. And it makes you wonder how many times something like that has happened when they didn't wake up.
There's an area in Antarctica. It's called Area 51, much like Nevada. What's going on there?
Well, there are actually a lot of different areas down in Antarctica. There's the area beneath the ice in thermal vent areas that the Germans built out starting in like 1939 to 1941. That area was turned over to us much later. But since the late 50s, early 60s, there was a project called Project Iceworm. Iceworm. And what this project was to set up bases, launch facilities for intercontinental ballistic missiles. They set one up in Greenland and did it totally covertly. They were about to arm it with a nuclear device when the plane crashed. Then the local government found out about it. But these same types of facilities built in the same manner were built in Antarctica, and they've been doing research and development in those bases for decades.
There are a number of countries that are working down there right now. It's very secretive. It's being visited by some dignitaries. There's something going on there, Corey.
Absolutely, yes.
It's
and
big.
A lot of the research and development that's going on down there violates the 1958 treaty for Antarctica. I believe it was 58.
What's so important about that area down there?
Well, it's pretty much, kind of like an international zone where the laws don't apply. There's also quite a bit of ancient technology that was discovered deep beneath the ice from a civilization.
David Hatcher-Childress, of course, appeared on Gaia's Deep Space program, and he talked about this very thing.
With the end of the World War II, the Germans were really escaping, and with their vast U-boat fleet, to places in Greenland and the Canary Islands, to South America, also going to Indonesia and Japan, and incredibly to Antarctica, where the Germans had started to create certain bases, underground, undersea U-boat bases in an area that they called New Schwabenland, and which we today call Queen Maud Land. And this is the part of Antarctica that's pretty much opposite of South Africa, really.
Corey, what do you think the Germans were trying to do?
Well, the Germans, what they had done is they had done excavations of much of the perimeter of that continent. Mm-hmm. And what they discovered was that the geothermal activity was creating huge ice caverns. They were able to build bases underneath these ice caverns. They were building technology that was using geothermal, the geothermal energy. Heat as energy. It was built out very extensively, and it was built mostly with slave labor.
Was this their plan when they took over the world, to have that region under their control?
Well, some of the secret society types were building this base for strategic reasons during World War II.
Sure.
You know, they fully expected to win World War II. But if they didn't, they had everything set up down in Argentina, Brazil, and Antarctica to sustain their next attempt at taking over the world.
We've heard reports that Hitler escaped to Argentina after World War II, that he did not commit suicide. I'm beginning to have more and more evidence to back that up. I have a feeling Antarctica was part of that plan as well.
Absolutely. And from what I heard, Hitler he went down originally to Antarctica, where he found out he really was no longer in charge of the new Fourth Reich. And then he lived out the rest of his days and going back and forth from Argentina to Brazil until he died in the 60s.
Yeah, 66, something like that. They say he worked for a shipping company. That I have problems believing, but he did escape with everything I've seen. This region down there, what's going on today?
Well, today, what they've been doing is they discovered an ancient civilization there, and it was not what we would consider human.
Ongoing?
No. It was a civilization that had been covered in some sort of major event that flash froze their civilization. They were finding bodies of these non-humans in strange ways that reminded them of Pompeii. And they started calling it the Pompeii on ice.
Okay, so they may have passed quickly.
Yes.
Quickly. You've gone public for a number of years now. Have you ever been threatened?
Yes, a number of times. I've had everything from helicopters flying over my house, hovering above my pool. I got some of that on videotape at one point. I was in the backyard with my son one time, and I had green laser dots on my chest, and I guided my son quickly inside. Recently, when I went to Spain, I was told that there was a target of opportunity hit out.
For you?
Yes. So I had to have very expensive security while I was out there.
Does it bother you? I mean, are you scared?
You know, at times I definitely get concerned, but it's more about those around me. I've decided that I'm in all the way on this situation.
There could be collateral damage, for example.
Right.
People who are too close to you and something, God forbid, happens.
Right. Usually how these intelligence groups work, they look for a weak link around you to exploit.
Why do you do what you do? Why do you keep going public with this information?
Originally, I didn't want to go public, but I was compelled to. And at that point, I was approached by more and more people that wanted to provide information. So I feel that it's something I'm obligated to do at this point, to keep telling the truth.
You have been investigating recently suppressed information, suppressed energy information, patents that are out there that really could change, I think, our lifestyle. Where are we at today with that? Can we get more of this released to the public or not?
Well, I don't think that if we sit back and wait, we're going to have it released. I think that now is a time of action. We've seen it in the public. If people focus, if we all have these different UFO belief systems, ideologies that are different, that separate us, but if we can agree that we want suppressed technologies released and stick to that, leave aliens out of it, focus on that, we'll be able to get the mainstream involved and enter this into their consciousness, and they will demand it.
I think one of the problems with that too, Corey, is that they haven't figured out yet, if they're going to release that, how can they make money on it? Because if it's generally free energy, how do they make us pay for it? And they can't figure that out, can they?
Right. Yeah, they've tried to tell us, they kept the secret out of an abundance of caution and love for us. We can't handle it. But the fact is that the highest secret in the land is not that they're aliens, it's how they get here and the technology they use. And now that we're able to reproduce it, that will take all of the power away from pharmaceutical companies, energy companies, overnight.
They don't like that.
No.
They don't like that. Of course, had they listened a long time ago to the great Nikola Tesla, they would have realized that there was an abundance of free energy out there. Let's take a little look at Nikola Tesla.
Serbian-born engineer Nikola Tesla was a technological genius and a radical inventor. His work on an alternating current power system, the fluorescent light bulb, remote control, and many other mass-market inventions revolutionized the 20th century. But Tesla's biggest project, his dream of providing energy to the world for free, collapsed when his financial backers unexpectedly withdrew their support. Some believe that Tesla's free energy invention was actually suppressed by one of America's most powerful men. Could it be that Nikola Tesla did invent free energy?
What a genius.
Yes.
Absolute genius. And I think we see some of that now with Elon Musk trying to do almost the same kind of thing, aren't we?
Yes, but he's tying into the actual space program, which is going to put a lot of limitations on him. The interesting thing about Tesla is that after he died, the current president's uncle was the one that went and cleared out his safe.
They took all his documents and his charts and his writings and everything. What concerns you most now about this entire area of free energy and the fact that we don't have it yet?
Well, it's free energy. There are also technologies that they've developed that, every living thing has a bioneural frequency. Just cancer does, all disease does. They have the ability to go in and flip a switch and with a sound light signal turn off the genes in cancer or different disease, just switch diseases off. They have the ability to do that. And I just recently had to watch my aunt pass away from cancer, knowing that
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, knowing that these technologies exist. So that's the linchpin, I think, with the mainstream. If they know technologies exist, everyone has a story like I just told you about an aunt or someone that passed away from a disease. These diseases can be cured. That is just as important as letting people know about free energy.
Of course, do you think they want to cure everybody?
No.
I mean, well, look what happens to the population.
Population control, right.
If they can make you live longer or healthier.
The elites are managing the population on a level that would make everyone very uncomfortable in the mainstream if they found out it was more than a conspiracy theory.
You're stepping on some toes, my man, aren't you?
Yep. But I have some people behind me that are helping me. It's the Alliance. It's a bunch of people that have been a part of the military-industrial complex, have been engineers that are breaking away, that are wanting the truth to come out. They've been told throughout their entire career, they ask, when is this going to come out to benefit the public? 20 years, 20 years. And that's what they're told, and it never comes out.
Originally, Corey, you started this mission by talking about the secret space program. It's changed now, it's broadened. It sounds like you're not holding back anymore.
There's no time to hold back. I mean, we can see what's happening on the news with, everyone's acting, it's like end-time madness.
People have gone crazy.
People have gone crazy.
North Korea, does that fit into your plans at all? Do you see anything going on there?
In briefings I have recently, I have been told that the military-industrial complex wants to reveal their space program. And this is controlled by the Air Force and the DIA. And it mainly consists of, when I was briefed a long time ago, 2 satellites that are 2 space stations that are maybe 50 years ahead of the ISS,
All right.
that are about 500 miles out in orbit.
Are they manned?
Yes, and it's manned by the Air Force. It's serviced by the triangular craft that we've become familiar with, and they have also some manned satellites. They also have a lot of weaponry up there. We've talked about the rods from God technology that they're talking about using on North Korea, and they're thinking that North Korea might be a situation where they can disclose this space program from a place of strength.
They would use the technology, you're saying, on North Korea?
Yeah.
And have to go public with it?
There's no choice. There's no way to have an invasion or attack North Korea without millions of casualties in Seoul.
So this would be a way to try to prevent that?
Right.
Scary times ahead.
It is, yeah.
And at no point you're going to back down?
Well, I mean, everyone has a breaking point, I'm sure.
You're not there yet.
I'm not there yet.
Has your family told you to back off?
No, my wife has been very nervous at times, but she's never wanted me to back off.
Has any of this affected your personal life because of what you're doing?
Yes. I've gone through quite a few changes since I first came out, and evolved in, I hope, in a good way. But yeah, I've been forced to look at karma and different things in relationships where, you know, I had messed up in the past, and now I'm being forced to deal with them, and it's very uncomfortable.
Speaking of changes, you've been looking at earth changes as well. Tell me how that fits into your program.
Yes, I was told and shown that, you know, what's going on in our local cosmos. The energetic cloud that our star system is passing through, and actually the local star cluster of 52 stars is passing through, it's as we're passing through, our sun is like a dynamo going through this cloud of energy, creating a huge wave of energy going in through the north and south pole of the sun, and then the energy pulses out through the sun into the solar system.
And of course we could get hit by that.
And
right?
we are. The Earth is doing the same thing. That energy is now coming from the sun, and we're like a dynamo spinning through that energy. That energy is causing much more energetic storms. It's going to cause a lot more frequent and powerful earthquakes, as well as we're going to start seeing a lot of volcanoes popping.
Is that part of the reason then why we're going through this huge, seemingly huge catastrophes that are of great magnitude? I mean,
Absolutely.
They're not just small hurricanes anymore or small earthquakes. God, we just saw what happened in Mexico with a 7.3. These are big events. Is that part of the reason?
Absolutely. It's a direct correlation.
A climate reporter from the New York Times talked a lot about these natural disasters and what was happening.
It's been a very active couple of months. There's been probably 4 major hurricanes in that time. There's been very, very severe wildfire season in the West.
Literally driving through a fire at the moment.
Then on top of it, we've had a couple of very strong earthquakes in Mexico. Some of this is normal, but some of it may also be a harbinger of things to come. Science can explain all of these things. Earthquakes, the frequency of earthquakes is remarkably consistent year to year. A 7.0 roughly earthquake and also an 8.0 earthquake within 2 weeks of each other is not unusual at all. The fact that they both happened in Mexico is a little unusual, but lots of quakes happen in Mexico. The thing about earthquakes is that most of the big earthquakes actually in the world happen in places where there's not a lot of people, so they don't really get noticed. Earthquakes aside, it's tricky. Some of what's been happening is related to climate change. Some of it isn't.
Great illustration, Corey, about what's happening on this planet, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But you think it's because of this cluster that's occurring?
Yes, and people within the deep military and these projects know this for a fact.
Coronal mass ejections, solar flares from the sun, they could destroy our way of living. We've done a lot of research on this, and it's reported that if we get hit with a huge X flare, and we did back in the 1800s, it was called the Carrington event.
And one recently popped out, but
we lucked
away
out
from Earth. Yeah,
that's right. Went the other way. If it would hit us, a big one, and shut down the power grid for 1 year, they're saying just in America alone, 90% of the people would die.
They would.
This is horrible.
It is.
And we're doing nothing about it. Why not?
Well, the sad fact is there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Protect the grid, insulate it.
You can insulate certain parts of the grid, but you're going to have a weak link somewhere. And when you have an electromagnetic pulse, if you have a weak link, the pulse is going to shoot up the whole. I mean, it's very difficult to insulate the entire grid against an EMP.
Are you saying that this is inevitable?
Yeah. That
something's going to happen, but there's nothing we can do about it?
There's nothing that we can do about it. No, the energy released from the sun in these events is so great that really there's no way to shield it. People that are hiding technologies deep within the earth are wasting their time as well, because it's going to penetrate pretty deep.
I see what happens, Corey, when power goes out for a day. People go crazy. Puerto Rico is still without lots of power because of the hurricane that went through there. I mean, my gosh, what would happen?
It would be
pandemonium.
Chaos. Right. Yeah, we would see people turning on each other. It would be scary. But there's a lot of people have different beliefs. It may not be all doom and gloom. Some people believe that these solar events are going to bring about great change on the Earth. And I've also been told that because of AI, artificial intelligence influences, that after a major solar event does knock out most of the technology, that's going to be a point to where they're going to come in and bring a lot of this new technology. That's the talk in the background.
You have talked a lot about blue avians. Explain what they are again.
The blue avians are a 6-density group of beings that have been working with humanity since we came about. They're not genetically programming us. They're not, for the most part, trying to give us religions. They're trying to help guide our consciousness expansion. Because
are they physical?
No.
They're not.
No, right. They become physical, but they're a higher density being.
All right.
They originally, over 2 billion years ago, in this local star cluster, were physical beings. And they created technologies to protect that local star cluster that later on, people that are more related to us started to mess around with, caused a lot of problems, and now they're karmically tied to us until we grow certain levels of consciousness. They're kind of stuck as well.
What are they asking us to do? Meditate more? What do they want?
Going back to the 50s, when people would get what some of us would consider legitimate ET contacts,
right?
Space Brothers, they always came with 2 things that they wanted humanity to do: expand their consciousness, become more spiritual, and demand the release of suppressed technologies. That's exactly what the blue avians are wanting. And they're also wanting us to grow spiritually to a point to where we're not on our knees looking in the sky for someone to come and save us, but to begin to look inwardly, stop the wheels of karma for our own group consciousness, and take responsibility for changing the world ourselves.
What is mass optimal temporal reality?
The best optimal temporal reality is what the blue avians were calling, and the Anshar are calling, the future, where we basically go through an ascension, go through a consciousness expansion, which a lot of us call ascension, that will give us a completely different perspective on the cosmos. When we have that different perspective, we're then able to understand our co-creative abilities a lot better, and we're able to manifest things, control matter, control reality.
Corey, of course, one of the areas that you have become very well known for is the disclosure theme, and you're doing some work now with the late Bill Tompkins. You were very close with him, and some others, Michael Salla. What are you doing in that area?
Yes, we recently received the funding to complete the book that we did with Dr. Salla and Bob Wood, and of course William Tompkins, who recently passed. And that should be published at the beginning of the year. And we're really excited about that.
Well, it's pretty dramatic stuff. Tompkins was just a giant in the field.
He was, yeah. And it was, he liked, A Case for the Secret Space Program. It's the title. He really liked that. He contributed some of his ship designs to the cover. So, we're gonna he's gonna be remembered from that book.
With the Secret Space Program, are they continuing to launch right now? Because we have to rely on the Soviets, the Russians, to get up into space. Are we launching from some other area?
Yes, we have several bases. We have one in Utah, and then the one that was handed over to us in Antarctica. It was the Nazi spaceport. We're using those to launch and building a lot of...
And nobody knows anything now.
Nobody knows.
You can't track it.
Now, that's up on the higher spectrum of the space programs. Down on the military-industrial complex level, the Air Force, DIA, they're still using chemical rockets to launch some of their technology, but most of it they're releasing through these triangular craft that fly them up and put satellites in orbit. Like I said, they have a space station, 2 space stations that are about 50 years more advanced than the ISS.
Jeez, that's dramatic.
Right. That's the stuff we'll hear about first.
You've heard of Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, the rock group. Tom has been fascinated with extraterrestrials and hidden technology for years. And what he has done, of course, has formed a group to investigate this, but he's going into it in a very big way.
Absolutely.
So first, my 2 co-founders. Jim Simivan, a career spy, former senior intelligence service in the CIA's Directorate of Operations, a strategist with the ability to help To the Stars Academy navigate all the many sensitivities involved, either with government or with others who may eventually want what we have. Dr. Hal Puthoff is a theoretical physicist and program director for numerous CIA and Department of Defense classified programs. Dr. Puthoff is the creator of the CIA's own revolutionary psychic spy program still used to this day, and his breakthrough science dealing with the engineering of space-time is crucial to potentially understanding the technology observed. Leading our aerospace division, Steve Justice, literally last month, Steve finished his career as Director of Advanced Systems at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And to this day, Skunk Works is the U.S. government's top-tier aerospace organization for the development of advanced aircraft that meet our urgent national security needs. He will explain to you how this technology can revolutionize the world. Lou Elizondo literally finished his career at the Department of Defense as Senior Intelligence Officer in the Office of the Secretary of Defense days ago, and now he is on the stage with us. He served as Director for the National Program Special Management Staff. Forgive me, these titles are very long. And he is going to architect some partnerships with some very sensitive places to help protect us, to help protect the technology that we are going to be building, so we together can achieve the extraordinary. Chris Mellon, chairman of the To the Stars Academy National Security Policy and Scientific Advisory Board, has a long career at the DoD as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and Minority Staff Director of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Chris actually was involved in reviewing many of our nation's most sensitive activities over the course of his career.
So here we have, Corey, a new initiative. Is it going to work?
You know, we'll see. I know that I've been receiving briefings for some time that the military-industrial complex space program, this program, they've been negotiating how they want to reveal their program. And I think that this is a part of a controlled release. In my opinion, it's a part of a controlled release.
I mean, Tom's been at this, DeLonge's been at this for a long time. He has been trying to get the word out about this. Do you know any of these players that he just introduced?
Yes, I've heard of several of them.
Are they heavy hitters?
Yeah, I mean, they're names that people in ufology should recognize, at least, a few of them.
Corey, what do you think happens to the public if there were full disclosure? if the work of people like you and Stephen Greer and others truly becomes evident, what do you think the public will do? Can they handle this?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. Everyone out there in ufology that thinks it's going to be a big kumbaya moment, everyone's going to hold hands and say, hallelujah, we know the truth. No, it's not
going to happen.
No, everyone's going to be extremely angry. You know, people, a lot of belief systems are going to be challenged. People won't want to get out of bed. They'll be depressed. You know, we're trying to come up with plans to get mental health professionals ready for such a thing. It's going to be a very...
There could be panic.
Yeah, but it will be very stressful. But all evolution occurs through stress.
Dr. David Jacobs, who's been a ufologist for a number of years, claims that whatever is happening is not a good thing. He claims that the extraterrestrials have a very nefarious purpose. He kind of talks outside the loop because other people are, you know, pretty happy with visitations and things like that. He says it's dangerous. What do you think of that?
Well, he's right. There have been some pretty dark agendas out there with non-terrestrials, but there are also positive extraterrestrials out there that are on our side that are trying to help us. So I wouldn't get too wrapped up in the negative side, because we have positive beings that are here helping us right now. They're not the type that come down and introduce themselves to the world. They're a part of this cosmic law that we have to do it ourselves. And we're going to have to free ourselves from some of these negative ET influences. It's on us.
If they're helping us, though, why aren't they doing it more publicly instead of clandestinely?
It's this cosmic law. They're karmically, they become very involved with us if they interfere too directly. That's why we've had all of these angels visitations and religious ideas come about. They've come about to try to expand our consciousness and guide us in a certain way without directly coming down here and pretending to be gods.
Are you interacting with these beings now?
I am.
Still?
Yes.
There are some out there that will accuse you of withholding information. There are some out there that think you're a government plant.
Absolutely, yeah.
It would be remiss for me not to ask you, is that conceivable?
I absolutely am not a government plant. If someone is trying to manipulate me, they kind of pick the wrong person, because I'm not sticking to any narrative that the government wants, that's for sure.
Is this their way to discredit you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was told about a year ago, and, you know, I warned a lot of people. I was told that the huge campaign was coming to discredit anything having to do with the Naval Secret Space Program.
Right.
They want it to only be DIA Air Force. They don't want anything else to be a part of the narrative right now.
Well, and we have seen what they can do if they want to discredit somebody.
Right.
They are notorious for
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we saw what happened to me recently in the attacks. But as far as withholding information, I absolutely do withhold information for operational security reasons.
Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well, if there's information, I get briefed at times. I'm getting briefed a lot about what's going on. By the people I mentioned before.
All right.
That they sit in on other briefings and hear everything that's going on with the secret grand juries, everything that's going on with the government right now, the deep state battle. So I'm being told a lot of that information that you have to sit on, because if you report the information while there's an ongoing operation, you can compromise it.
Do the superiors of those people who are talking to you know that they're talking to you?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no.
Because you would think that they are jeopardizing their own careers talking to you.
Right, but these people are a part of the alliance. They're putting a lot on the line. They're putting their careers, their lives on the line, and some of them have perished.
Corey, how do you think this is going to unfold, let's say over the next 5 years?
Over the next 5 years, I expect to get small little drips of disclosure from this DIA Air Force program. If there's any type of military conflict, I expect them to utilize that to try to disclose the technologies. I also expect to hear more little drips about things they're finding under Antarctica and also
like
under the
cities
ocean.
or something like
cities. They'll start more with, we found jungles, ancient jungles under the ice, and they'll slowly build up to the interesting stuff. And I expect also they'll start telling us about what they found under the oceans.
How will they tell us? In what form?
In the way they're doing now, little news articles.
Dribs and drabs.
Right, and then eventually I'm told that they've had a number of highly respected professors and researchers that have been coming down to Antarctica studying these ruins for some time, and they've been documenting it, and that has been prepared to release to the public as well.
Is there anything that would be so dramatic it would just change the complexity in the face of this planet if they revealed it?
I think what they're expecting that will have that result is the information they're going to give about the civilization under Antarctica, how advanced it was, and how they didn't come from here. 3 massive ships crash landed, then they cannibalized those ships and that technology to build out their civilization.
And we have remnants of this?
Everything is under the ice, and we're excavating it now. We have people, and it's causing a lot of problems. It's causing more cracking and melting of the ice shelf.
And they are cracking.
Right, because we're underneath the ice with huge hoses excavating with steam, pressurized steam. We're dropping huge bags of water down holes that we're drilling, and we're hitting it with microwaves, causing it to explode.
The glaciers are cracking up because of us?
Right, in part. Also, the geothermal heat is picking up. It's getting more and more active.
Well, they say if the glaciers all melt, the sea level on the coasts all over the planet would rise dramatically.
Absolutely.
That's not a good thing.
No.
That's not a good. You're a father. You have children. Are you concerned about their future when you look at what's going on this planet?
Yeah, on many different levels. All the time, even just yesterday, I was sitting with my wife, some of the stuff that's coming out in Hollywood and all that. I was looking, I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and I'm wondering what kind of a world is she going to grow up into? We have those problems, let alone all the big ones that we're talking about here.
As I look back at things that have occurred since World War I, then World War II, then Vietnam, then the Korean War in there before that, and everything else, it's a hateful planet, Corey. It has not stopped fighting and killing since the beginning of time. At what point do extraterrestrials come down and say, enough is enough? We either obliterate everything that's on this planet and start all over, which is a theory, or they just leave us alone. What do you think is going to happen?
I think they
What's the end game?
They leave us to the cosmic cycles. There is a plan. Everyone's supposed to evolve according to this plan. They're allowed to come in and genetically tinker with us, spiritually tinker with us, but I do not see them coming in and bringing the hammer and saying, "All right, you guys, enough." We're either going to destroy ourselves or we're going to figure out how to make things work.
But they're not going to stop us, are they?
No. They'll stop us from destroying the planet, but not each other.
Corey Goode has evolved from a little 6-year-old who's been involved in a secret space program to where you are today. Where do you see your evolution in the next few years?
I just see myself working more on projects that affect the mass consciousness in a positive way. The powers that be know that our co-creative consciousness can manifest things, and that is the root of their black magic, and their power is causing us to manifest the future that they want through media, through false flags, all these different things that you talk about on your shows all the time. So us beginning to take the tools away from the enemy and be able to affect the mass consciousness in a positive way, about telling people to be more service to others, letting people know that these technologies do exist. It starts to filter into the mass consciousness through that 100th monkey effect, and it's going to change the world.
Don't stop doing what you're doing, Corey.
I don't plan to.
If people want to get a hold of you or track what you do, how do they find you? SphereBeingAlliance.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Sphere Being Alliance. If you follow me on Facebook, Sphere Being Alliance, and YouTube, you should pretty much be up to date. What would be perhaps the most poignant thing you could leave all of us with? If you have this opportunity right now to talk to the planet, what would you tell us? I would say now's a time that we need to decide what's more important. Our little reality bubbles, what we think the truth is, or the truth. And we need to start setting aside all of these little ideologies that keep us fragmented, take them off the table for discussion, and only have on the table that one goal that we all share, and that's the goal of disclosure. Will we get there? I think we can. And we can handle the truth? Right, but it's up to each individual out there. But you're right about the anger, because a lot of people will say, why didn't you tell us this before? You knew about this, and you didn't say anything. Well, you know, there are a lot of people that know this information. I sat back for years watching whistleblowers walk right up to the line of telling all the information I've shared, and then they start to step over the line, and then they do an about face. So I've watched that occur for years, and wondering what shut them up. Something scared them. So coming forward with this type of information is very scary. Hopefully me coming forward with this information will, you know, knock down the dam, and more people will start coming forward. Most of our presidents have no idea what's been going on. Why aren't they telling them? Well, it's the deep state. We have people that are career bureaucrats that are in the middle management level. Right. And then we have people that come in every 4 to 8 years that run the government. They don't run the government. Those people are managed. They're not going to give people the highest secrets in the land that have access to Twitter or who they can't fully control for a long period of time. Corey, thanks for being on Beyond Belief. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Here's a guy, since he was a little boy, who has come forward to talk about some of the most amazing things that have been happening on this planet and off this planet. Full disclosure, will we ever get to the bottom line of this? Will we ever find out that we are indeed being visited by extraterrestrials from other planetary systems? People like Corey Goode, keep at it. We will get those answers. I'm George Norrie, and thanks for watching Beyond Belief.
Follow your curiosity to Gaia.com and unlock the entire library with a special startup offer. Click the link in the description to get started for only 99 cents.